Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the conversation desk on Mimi Mefo Info News and also Beyond Africa podcast. I'm going to be joined by my colleague of Beyond Africa podcast, Bernard Ngalim, on this program where we'll be talking about, 4 months after the presidential election in Cameroon. It was described as the most consequential presidential election. Former Minister Issa Tchiroma Bakary declared himself winner of the election at the polls backed by evidence, while the Constitutional Council proclaimed Paul Biya, who never even campaigned, the winner of the election. Now, the results plunged the country into a political stalemate that remains unresolved till date. Much has been said about Issa Tchiroma Bakary, his resignation from the government, his rallies, his bold claims, his statements, mobilization of Cameroonians, and thereafter him leaving the country, but continues to talk about the situation in the country and how to take over power. But very little has been said about the man who designed the strategy that shook the system, disrupted the opposition landscape in Cameroon, and forced the regime onto the defensive. Today, we are going to be speaking to that man, and I'm not going to be doing that alone. Like I said, my colleague Bernard Ngalim is joining me today. Before we bring our guest, Bernard, I just wanted us to take a moment and greet our viewers and let them understand, take a moment to situate our viewers what we are going to be discussing today. Good day, Bernard.
Good day, Mimi. Thank you for having me here. And it's a delight to always share the panel with you to discuss these issues that appear or remain very important in the life of a nation. You know, a nation is built not by the institutions, but by the people that give life to those institutions. In a situation where the institutions seem or are completely separated from the people, there is always a stalemate. And this is not strange because we have lived such stalemates, and we are living a most consequential stalemate in the life of Cameroon in 2025, 2026. Nobody knows what is going to happen because over the past years, after elections, when the opposition leader won and the president and Paul Biya and his government insisted on staying in power by declaring Paul Biya winner, the elections or the runner-up officially has always reclaimed victory, but has never taken certain moves that we've seen with President Tchiroma. In 1992, Frundi was under house arrest in Bamenda. In 2018, Kamto was in prison in Yaoundé. But in 2025-26, we have Tchiroma out of the country. This could signal something. He's not talking. He's not making any open signs, but there are indications that his presence in the Gambia could be something else that we do not understand. And it is always important, as you say, to go back to those faces that we don't see all the time. You know, when we come on TV like this, you and I, we are talking, people see us, but they don't know the serious work that is going on behind the backgrounds. Those who are making these images run, nobody sees them. So sometimes we focus on Tchiroma, but we forget that all that we saw happening on the field was being done by somebody or a team of people led by somebody who was crafting the strategy. And it's always a pleasure to talk with the brains. You know, the brains always bring out more information than what the face gives us.
Right. You've said the pace so beautifully. And I must say, Bernard, that a lot of things happened before and after the October election that people have not stopped talking about. It's clear that most of the things that happened were not properly addressed. People have not moved on from the aftermath of the election. People are not happy. People continue to have conversations around it, how the Constitutional Council declared a candidate who was not winner of the election, winner at the end of the day, Paul Biya, who never campaigned. We saw how the campaigns took place and how Issa Tchiroma Bakary moved across different regions of the country to campaign and eventually win the election according to the result tallies that we had, from the different regions of the country, from polling stations. But then at the end of the day, we still have to continue this conversation because it's very, very important. Bernard. And today we are going to, like, you're talking about the brain behind the person of Issa Tchiroma Bakary, the person who was, at the center of his campaign, the person who was, like, I would call him the strategist. People saw the work that was done during the campaign and even after the campaign. Let us now meet the man who was the former campaign manager and spokesperson of Issa Tchiroma Bakary in the person of Dr. Chris Maneng. Dr. Chris, good day to you and welcome to the information desk.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure being part of your show and your panel, and I'm very, very grateful to be your guest today and to talk about some critical issues and also the strategy that actually led us to offset the system and kind of ignite new paradigms that will be set up in the scope of history, and also people after us will know how to actually offset the system to put down the current regime.
So, yes,
thank you very much, Dr. Chris Maneng, for joining us today. And I am sure many people want to see the face. Many people want to understand what happened, how Mr. Tchiroma could be that face or that could create such happiness and excitement in Cameroonians. And we are happy that you are here to talk with us about this. And we look forward to having a very fruitful and interesting conversation with you. If you could put up such an interesting and exciting strategy, it means the conversation is going to be interesting, and we look forward to that.
Thank you so much, and the pleasure is mine.
Okay, so Bernard, I will start with the first question. Today, we want to understand the strategy behind Issa Tchiroma Bakary's campaign. But let me ask Dr. Chris Maneng straight. Let me just go straight to the point. How did you become Issa Tchiroma Bakary's campaign strategist? How did it happen?
Well, it is true that today we shall be spilling some secrets and talking about the untold. So that is always good to actually retrieve what happened so that people may learn from it. So my meeting with Mr. Tchiroma was just like a heavenly meetup. Like, it seems it was destined to be, because I was working for the Dampolos family, and he was a very good friend to Mr. Dampolo. We met on several occasions at the Dampolos house, and this particular day where Mr. Dampolos was wedding his daughter, Mr. Tchiroma was invited, and we were on the high table together, and the introduction was made, and then Dampolo told him how essential I am and what I do behind the scenes, and introduced me as a spin doctor and the best person that can actually make black become white. So we kept contact, and we started talking about this concept of La Relève. La Relève is actually the movement to be able to train young people that will be the leaders of tomorrow. And I also, for 2 years, I was looking at how to offset and how to give my experience to one of the candidates, because I was seeing elections again and again, and they weren't happening so well in Cameroon. I was like, okay, maybe with my experience, I can actually dive in and go in for a candidate. So I was considering different candidates. So I spoke with so many different candidates to have a feel, to try to know them in the interiorness of who they are. And most of them weren't very convincing, and I didn't like the humanity that they had. Or I consider they didn't have that humanity. But when speaking to Mr. Chiroma, although he was painted as a very bad guy and the person who actually condoned and kind of speeded up the crisis in the Anglophone region and so many other issues, I felt he was in a good place. He was someone who was very strongly human, very human. He was so lovely. And when you spoke to him, there was no, there was a very high sense of humanity, high sense of pertinence. He always gave his heart to what he was saying. And he always felt that he was right in the direction. So he never gave me excuses. So I told him, okay, no problem. This is my number. Whenever you think you may need me, whenever you want to collaborate, let me know. So I gave him my number and we separated. He wasn't the obvious option for me when I wanted to jump into the race after my race in Sierra Leone with Mr. Madabio and during also my time with Trump. So he wasn't my obvious candidate. But one day I was just sitting in my office and my phone rang. Hello. And that voice, he got that voice and it's very unique. When he speaks, he's the one. So he has a specific voice. And when I heard that voice, I thought it was a prank. And then he told me, you remember me? It is Mr. Tchiroma. I really wanted to see you. I don't know when you will be in Cameroon, but I want you to come by my office so we can talk about the concept we spoke of the other time. I said, okay. And we kept giving ourselves appointments that I couldn't make. I couldn't come to Cameroon all the time. So, and when I came, he was on service because he was a minister. So it was a little bit crucial until the day, until weeks before he actually decided to resign. He called me again. And I told him I will be in Cameroon, and when I will be in Cameroon, we are going to talk. So he went in, and of course, he already had a plan. That's why he was trying to get me as soon as possible. He tried to jump into his campaign by sending out their open letter, and also by doing that flopped interview. Everyone saw and mocked him. So I wasn't there by then. So after the flop, I came to Cameroon and I told him, look, we have to redo everything because all what you actually showed till now is not good enough. But before, I want us to have a private conversation where you and me would talk and I would know exactly if you're the guy. He said, I will be completely open to you.
Thank you, Doctor. We are going to let you develop more of this, but let's break down what you have already said so far. You said you discovered that Mr. Tchiroma is a lovely person.
We lost you, Bernard. We can't hear you. The audio is not working.
Can you hear me now?
It's low, very low.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now it's perfect. Now we can hear you.
All right. Thank you. So let me take from scratch. So you said you knew Mr. Tchiroma and he showed signs of being a lovely person, a humanist. You knew him through Alhaji Dankulo, and you could discuss about the relay. And you spoke with, you brought in your experience from Sierra Leone and your time with Mr. Trump. So what we want to hear now is, at what point did you know exactly that Mr. Tchiroma was going to leave the government that he had served and openly defended for many years? And how did that knowledge fit into all these criteria that you described about him?
Yeah, so basically I knew, in fact, I pushed him to when we met at the wedding. We spoke of that, and but I have to be completely truthful to you that this was a plan that was, in fact, him moving out of government was actually decided like 6 months before we spoke of it. So once we spoke of it, he already knew that he would resign. I think that is why he was eager to continue talking to me, because he already knew it. Because the person that engineered the need for him to go out is someone a little bit more closer. One of his daughters actually pushed him to resign. So basically, that decision was already made. So he was just moved by what they told him about me and by our conversations, my vision about elections in Cameroon and what was lacking and what could be done better and so on. Yeah, he knew that I had a lot of experience and I had a lot of expertise as a doctor in strategic management. He knew that I could bring something new, but of course, he wasn't convinced. And of course, I think at that time, he didn't have much of a choice because he didn't have the structure needed to run and win an election. When I came, everything was haphazard, not organized. Nothing was made for it to be a campaign that will stand and win.
So we wanted to just come in here to ask, what was it like preparing a man who had long been one of Biya's most vocal defenders to now run against him? Because you certainly must have known what was coming, right? How was it like preparing him?
Well, I would tell you that it was very, very hard psychologically. I'm telling you, I don't know if I think it is the best time to talk about this. The election is over, so I don't think Mr. Tchiroma will be mad at me for saying this, but it was very hard for him to detach himself the fact that the President Biya was his adversary. He served him so much that he felt it will not be okay to talk about him in a certain way. When I wrote speeches for him, he was always like, "Doctor, I cannot say this." He was my boss. "I cannot say this." I said, "No, you need to say this if you want to win." So psychologically, it was so hard. I invite you guys to go back to the Union for Change speech. I had to battle with him 3 days. I had to call Issa Tchiroma to listen to the speech and convince him with me to actually take the speech, because he said no. Some things he even refused. I licked it myself just because he wouldn't do it, because psychologically he was not yet there. You know, I understood that the Biya mechanism was to actually enslave his different collaborators in such a way that they see him like a meat, and it makes them not to even try to go after his chair. He's very, very jealous of that chair that he has. So he was in that psychological position where it was hard for him to go after Biya. It was so hard. But little by little, I implemented what I call the trifactor that actually helped me to little by little get him that confidence and making him feel that he is the direct opponent of President Biya, and he is the guy that the people want to use to bring President Biya out of power.
Just before Bernard comes in, what did it tell you about his personality? Was he doing it out of loyalty, or is just his personality as Issa Tchiroma Bakary? Why was he like being a little bit skeptical, not wanting to go all out to criticize a leader who has been in power for more than 40 years, has brought untold hardship to the people of Cameroon, including yourself, because you are not just coming as a stranger, you're coming as a Cameroonian. How would this describe, how does this tell us, what does this tell us about the personality of Issa Tchiroma Bakary?
Well, his personality is perfectly understandable. You know, it was just the beginning. He had just resigned weeks back. So he was still in that. Sometimes he even forgot, and he called himself minister. So yeah, it just shows you how early it was. So it was just normal for him to have a hard time departing that personality of the subordinate, of the worker, of someone like Mr. Biya. So their aim was to actually get him into the same level And what this is what I call the first layer. The first layer, it was visibility. Visibility for me would have given him that push that will help him to feel that he is the same meat that Mr. Biya is. Because remember, what makes the strength of Mr. Biya is that everybody looks at him like a king, like a supreme person, like someone who, in fact, even if you are his adversary, once he gets into the room, you will respect him, you will fear him. So I had to get Mr. Tchiroma to a level where he himself feels that he has something supernatural. He becomes a very unique meat. And for that, the first stage, the first layer, which was visibility, was very important, because people didn't have to look at him as a candidate or as an opposition leader, but as a God sent, as like some people call him le bon Dieu, the envoyé de Dieu, the suite. So they had to see something supernatural about him. You see, for example, what we did with the doves that are lying in this house and so on. So I had to use all these techniques for people to look at him differently. And that's what actually helped us in the second layer. The second layer is actually the operational layer. The operational layer is when he goes to the field. Now, going to the field without doing the first layer, which was visibility and storytelling, would have been a complete mess. I had to first get him into that level where people would consider him as the same kind of supreme person that Mr. Biya is, before saying, okay, we start rallies. Because people won't go to rallies because they want to listen to him. They won't go because they feel that he's the best candidate. They will go because they want to be part of something big. They want to see the new Jesus. They want to touch the new Jesus. So I had to do that first thing, to get him to that level first, so that once we do rally, it will just be a consequence. You will see a lot of people coming out. You won't even understand why. Novice people will not know why people are coming out. They'll just say, oh, maybe he's Tchiroma. He paid people. He did this. But if I tell you, we didn't even spend nothing for rallies, because we first created that thing that will made him look very big and a supreme person that is obviously coming to change things.
Thank you for opening this up into the strategy that you used. But one question I wanted to get clarification on is, you already mentioned the first interview that you consider was botched. I don't know if he considered was botched and if others consider was botched, but I remember the question that was asked to him by one of the viewers and he got almost frozen. But tell us, are you convinced that you built his strategy from scratch or not?
Say it again.
Are you convinced that you built his strategy, his personality and his campaign from scratch? Or by the time he was resigning with his daughter around him, he already had something that he just built on?
Well, I think without a strategy, there will be no Tchiroma. There will completely be no, there will be, but I had to use what he already had. Of course, if you want to, that's actually the difference between choosing him than any other candidate. He needed to have something. I needed to see something on him. I needed to know exactly what are the bad things he did, the good things, to see if I can use those bad things and these good things to make him win. I needed to know what are his, what were his God-given gifts. And he's a very good outspoken person. He knows how to analyze. He knows how to use what you're giving him to do the right job. He just needs a good layer and a good plan. I have an example of, for example, when he gets up in the morning and he's shouting and he's saying, oh, this my friend called me and they are asking me, they are telling me that I have to go for rally. Everyone is going for rallies. I am not going for rallies, and so on. So he shouted. For him, he just knows that he's a candidate and elections in Cameroon, he needs to go for rallies. So I had to come. And they had to call me. They say, doctor, the president is panicking. He says he has not gone for rallies while everybody is going for pre-campaign rallies. Then I say, chill down. I called him. We have a FaceTime. I explained to him on what steps we are, what we have to do, and why we are not doing rally right now, and why he will see the difference when we finish doing the visibility part prior to going to rally. So obviously he is, he has a personality of his own, of course, and that personality had to be swiftly or switched on and also guided in such a way that it becomes beneficial for him and not against him.
Yeah, fantastic. You started by building his visibility and you made him believe in himself.
Yeah, so visibility, make him believe in himself and make others believe in him. So it was not just a man making Tchiroma popular. People knew the Tchiroma name, but they knew the Tchiroma name the wrong way. Everybody hated his name. Everybody felt like everyone can have a chance, but not Tchiroma. Everyone deserves a chance, but not Tchiroma. It's as if today our Minister of Territorial Administration comes and say, I want to be president, I will help you guys and all that. They'll say, everyone could get a chance, but not you, with all what you've done to us. Of course, that was the same situation. He was the same person years back. He was doing the same things years back. So I had to switch it. It was even much more, a little more difficult because he was that person. So we had to go through excuses. We had, in fact, format a lot of different things, put some different elements into his speeches, and also try to anticipate and answer questions the way we think people will accept it. So that's why you had some cards, you had some different movements, and so many things that was answering to the questions. Who is Tchiroma? Why am I running? Why am I this and that? So all that gave answers to the preoccupations that people had on him, and owning the fact that he did all what he did. That's a strategy. You don't come and say, no, you bring excuses. No, I did this because of it. No, you own it. You say sorry and you move on. That is a better turning point. It creates a better turning point than if you come and you try to justify yourself.
So yes, of course, we saw the strategy. We saw the apology, how he was speaking, exactly what Cameroonians wanted to hear. We listened to the messages, and it actually really hit home. I think I was one of the first people interviewed Tchiroma himself. And when you go to that interview now and look at the comment section on our YouTube channel, you see the reactions also from there. Everything that he said, we could see like some sort of the genuineness, that leadership quality in him when he was speaking. So I just wanted to find out, what was this, what did you change first? Was it the message, the posture, the alliances? Because we know that also alliances were being talked about, coalitions and so on. People were talking about coalitions. Or was it the ground structure? What were some of the things that you prioritized when you were putting the strategy in place?
Well, the first thing I did, to be truthful with you, first thing is branding. I rebranded everything the US way. And I wanted to give him a US-like campaign. Of course, we would have done 5, 50, 20 times more if we had money. We didn't have money. So I did what I could with no means. So I rebranded everything, because you can show yourself as a serious candidate. You can give envy to people, and you can show difference if you have a poor brand. So I rebranded everything. His structure first, his campaign. The campaign needed to be isolated from the party, because the party. The party is just a little party from a little region and a little city. So it's not even a regional. It's not even a regional party. It was like a city party. So it was very small. So I had to detach that and create the campaign and make the campaign an institution. And now try to brand the campaign in such a way that it is catchy. After branding the campaign, I had to work on the first layer. Remember this. In the Tchiroma campaign, we had 3 layers. The first layer is the visibility layer. The second layer is the operational layer. And the third layer is the strategic power layer. The strategic power layer. Now, we had a lot of shortcomings on the strategic power layer. We'll come to that. But the first layer, which was the visibility, we had to work on the messaging, had to work on the narrative, had to work on the flow of information, contracting of information, or how people perceive him. You see, for example, Mr. Tchiroma. He's not on social media. So I will go on social media, listen to what Project C says, listen to what Mimi Mefo says, listen to what Valsero says, listen to what all of these people say on the internet, the Cameroonians say on the internet, and then I will construct very good speeches. I will construct very good videos, talking points, and so on. I will tell him, we have to stress on this or that. People will have the impression that you're answering to them. People will have the impression that you have proximity with them. And it will actually turn them little by little. So I did a lot of work in listening. I did a lot of listening so that I could bring to him what actually works. And he did a very marvelous job. And you can never take that from him. He trusted me 100%. In the beginning, it was a little bit difficult because he was the Minister of Communication. So when you see a young man teaching you, telling you what to do, telling you this is what you have to say, you feel like, no. Who is it to tell me what I have to say? Why I was a whole boss of the communication center in the country. He had to put down that and trust me that I am the expert in that domain and I am able to take him out of there. So he tested me, of course. So we had some 1, 2, 3 little things that could off the campaign. He saw how I swiftly worked that out. And he understood that, no, I'm the man of the situation. So gave me more responsibilities. And I was kind of he always tell everyone, Dr. Chris is the director of everything. Director of campaign, director of communication, director of rallies, director of everything. So the campaign was just me. I was doing everything by myself. And of course, I overworked myself. Almost, I'm losing my hair. But it was for the good cause. So it was great.
Mm.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Maneng. It's good to know that you overworked yourself for the good and you're losing your hair. That is a sign of personal investment. But tell me, from what you are telling us, looks like the campaign team was very small. And you tried to bring in the American touch to the campaign. And what we know about American campaign is the principal delegates some form of campaigning to the surrogates, because there are certain things that the principal would not say on stage, even though Donald Trump, that you say you had some time with, would like to hear more about that. He does what surrogates do. He doesn't delegate his communication. He goes straight, he says what he thinks, and it's up to the viewers to pick it up. So what kind of communication did you advise President Tchiroma to delegate to surrogates so that that kind of language doesn't come from the principal himself?
Well, the first department that I created was the communication department with a lot of surrogate. I guess you guys heard about Dr. Mbok, whom people call the Tchiroma spokesperson during the campaign. No, he wasn't a spokesperson. He was just one of my surrogates from the communication department. I had about 5. I had Suleiman Karamoko, I had Dr. Moise Bok, I had also a very young man from the West. I also had some folks who were very interesting from the South. So basically, we had a very good team of surrogates and people that I personally trained. That's what we started with when we created the communication team, training them on what they have to say, what is the narrative, what direction we are going with the campaign, or the talking points, and also what is the key lines of the Tchiroma campaign. Maybe if I have some of this documents again that I was sharing to them in the beginning, you will look at it, and it was, I have the experience, I was there, and I am the one able to disrupt this regime from the insides. I know exactly how it is built, and I have the arms, I have watched. So it gives a feeling to people that he was there to just learn how to take the regime down. Okay, so all this were the talking points that were given to surrogates so they could actually go there and talk some certain things. But what we discovered during the middle of the campaign was that some people were using their positions to actually gain momentum and create relationship with the regime. So we had to interrupt it. That's when you saw the letter from Mr. Tchiroma saying that the only person that was authorized to talk on his behalf, it's me. He wasn't nominating me as the porte-parole. I already had it because I was the one nominating anyone in any different position. So we just felt like, because I better know the narrative because I am the one who created it. So it is better that I should be the only person talking when needs be. And that time was a time where we actually needed to keep things closer. But as you said, the team was really, really small, really small. At the top, we were just three. At the top, just three. And then we were trying as much as possible to use the people that were coming and demanding to be helpful. We're using them the best way we could.
So in simple terms, which areas did you identify as must-win territories?
So, I came out with this strategy of 18 departments. That is actually a base of a research that I was doing. I had not completed the research, but I just anticipated. I said, we don't have money because we had the money for the campaign for the campaign. We had it maybe one day before election day. That's when we had money to give to people, so they could go to the different polling stations. So basically, we didn't have money, and I needed to try to find a way to make things work. So I just had to pull it through the way I could.
Yeah. So within these 18 regions, could you identify the 18 divisions that you focused on? I asked this because you mentioned the surrogates, the official surrogates you had, and there were about 5 of them, and I did not hear any Anglophones naming it. And Tchiroma's record includes statements about Anglophones that were very, very derogatory and sounded as if he was the main instigator of the conflict. And he appeared very controversial on that. But we saw him go to Bamenda to apologize. Was that one of the strategic approaches to the campaign, or did that show that Bamenda or the Northwest was one of the key regions that you identified?
Well, you have to understand something. Of course, during the campaign, we had conversations with many different arms, different fractions of the Anglophone regions, and of course, people thought that, and I heard people saying that the Anglophone regions are dead regions, or maybe elections will not be effective there, so we should not go there. We should abandon that area. But no, it wasn't possible, because I had pressure from a lot of people from the Anglophone region. I consider myself to be an Anglophone, so I wouldn't let that region to be untouched. So but truthfully, there are the 18 regions selected. If you go back to my list on the Tchiroma official page, you would see that the Northwest and Southwest was not mentioned among the 18 regions, which we calculated to come up with a win percentage of 52%, if I recall correctly, that we had against President Biya. So the study is more based on big like swing states in the US, like big electorates, like where do we have majority of electors, and we saw places like Vuri, we saw places like Fundi, and so on. So it was ranked from 1st to number 18. Which ones, that it constitutes, for example, 18% of the electorate or 80% of the electorate. So once you put that all together, you saw that if someone win those 18 those 18 regions, of course he wins the election. So no, 18 divisions instead, you win the election. So we focus more on that because of lack of resources. We didn't have enough resources, so we couldn't focus on the whole country, of course. So we had to be strategic. Of course, in the beginning, even he didn't understand what I was doing. Like, what are you doing? So I didn't want to have the same mistake as Canto did, where he he pronounced himself president without having proof, nothing to show for it. So it was part of the strategy to, after election, to make sure that we know for sure that we won. We have proof that we won. We have our PVs that shows that we actually won. So we had to do everything to have those PVs, material evidence that we actually won. So I had to strategically look at the regions and the divisions that we had to focus on to make sure that we can prove our win. Because the next things international community are going to ask you is, how do you know you won? And I knew that the last layer, which is strategic power layer, will be very, very important for the aftermath. Because this regime, I knew I could beat them easily. I could beat them easily on an open, fair election. But I knew that we will never take power. I always put out the difference between winning an election and winning power. We won the election, but we didn't win power, and we will understand why.
I think we would have to talk a little bit at length about that, because it's very important. A lot of people watching now are not understanding why Tchiroma would win the election and is not in power, and what is exactly being done to overturn things, to make things look different, because that desire for change was really general. But I like the thoughts raised by Bernard about sincerity while Tchiroma was apologizing in the conflicted Northwest region. Just to find out.
I didn't touch that. I want to say something about that. I didn't touch that. So,
okay.
Look, there are two things that Tchiroma did from the bottom of his heart that even if I told him not to do, he would do it. One is the pure sorrow that he had towards what happened in the Anglophone region, and the part he played in that it was completely genuine. The second thing is the help he gave to Kamto. It was completely genuine. For me, as a strategist, I saw that Kamto was our biggest opponent and our biggest challenge. He was our biggest challenge, not President Biya. He was Kamto. I will explain later on, or maybe once you read my book on the election, you will actually understand why I feel Mr. Kamto was our biggest opponent, and why he created a lot of difficulties to our campaign.
But he didn't, his candidacy was rejected. So how come he was an opponent when he was not taking part in the election?
That is what is seen on the front door, but there are so many things that were happening on the back door also. And how can I say it without opening World War III?
While you gather your thoughts,
because you said earlier that you were going to spill a lot of things. We want to know what.
While you gather your thoughts to fashion what you are about to say, let us say it from this perspective. Mr. Tchiroma comes into the campaign without a ground game. Kamto had spent 7 years building an infrastructure. Kamto had seen himself as the one who was going to be the main opposition leader, and then his candidature is rejected by the Constitutional Council. Now, Cameroonians are looking for an alternative, and that alternative seems to be Tchiroma at that point. Did you go into any conversations with Professor Maurice Kamto to use his infrastructure on the ground?
No. That was not what it was. I will tell you the truth that even if Professor Kamto was a candidate, or Mr. Tchiroma would still be more popular than him. It's not a matter of using his infrastructure. Mr. Tchiroma didn't use Mr. Kamto infrastructure. I can bet you that. We even had a hard time trying to use MSA, and we didn't use MSA. So what happened is that people didn't try to look for an alternative. No, people tried to consider who was equipped and who actually had the determination to overthrow President Biya. Now, if Mr. Kamto was on the race, he would have also been put in a position where people will put him on the balance. But I guess that if he was there, the same way as good things happens to a candidate during a campaign, it's also the same way that bad things happen to a candidate during a campaign. So we don't know if the bad things that would have happened to him would have overthrown the perception that people had towards him. So I don't think that if he was there, he would have had a lot of support.
Before Mimi comes in,
Mr. Tchiroma was still present.
Yeah, before Mimi comes in, Mr. Kamto, without a doubt, had some PR by building his blocks towards the elections, by taking cases to the Constitutional Council, by always being the main focal point throughout the 7 years on most TV stations. What do you think could have happened after or during the campaign that could reduce or blur his popularity at that point?
Well, I think the popularity is just based on the hope that you are, the hope and the credibility that you have, and the strong belief that people have that you can actually pull the plug or maybe get it done, get the job done. So I think this election was not about who will better govern. And this is a very good thing we did in the campaign, trying to make people understand that it is not the conversation of who will better govern this country, but who has a chance and who is more equipped to actually win and put out Mr. Biya, and has this personality of not staying in power and giving the power to the next generation without a reasonable doubt. So we would have still been in the position where opposition leaders would have sat down and still put that question on the table, that who is able to win this guy and put the power into our hands and not keep the power for himself. And that there we would have had a problem. The same way as we had a problem with Mr. Bello Buba. And people obviously, even you, I guess, felt, I talked to you, Mimi, even you felt that Mr. Bello Buba was well equipped and had more chances to be that person that could strike better the opposition, strike better and bring the opposition better together. But that was because you didn't know the full strategy that was behind, and you didn't know that power struggle is all about combating also your direct opponents and swiftly eliminating them from the picture. And I can reveal here in front of everyone that one of my biggest fights was to kill UNDP silently, and I killed them. We did that. So we are after the election, so I have to just be truthful. We killed them. He was our biggest opponent at a certain level because they were saying it is the candidate of the North. So I had to silence him. I always silenced him before even election day. He was already dead. He was dead.
But the question is how much power the UNDP actually has, when it comes to the presidential election, because UNDP's, might when it comes to Cameroon politics can only be fully measured during the parliamentary and municipal elections. But maybe we'll come to that shortly, because the conversation is getting more and more interesting. For those who are just joining, we would want to urge you to share so that this live stream can go as far as and wide as possible. But Dr. Chris Maneng, at the time when many Cameroonians were believing that the coalition was the only solution to defeat Paul Biya, you launched the Union for Change instead. That's what people started seeing, and the Union for Change endorsed Tchiroma's candidacy. Our guest just stepped away. I'm sure it's the network connection. But Bernard, just to have a brief conversation with you, listen to Dr. Maneng, just for, I mean, and for about 40 minutes, he's been talking about the campaign strategy so far. He's been, talking about the man Tchiroma himself, and that those that were working around him at the time were very, it was just a small, tiny, group of persons strategizing. When you look at that time and now, what is your observation? What can you say about Chiroma's team then and Chiroma's team now?
That is an interesting question we should have him talk on, because what he says is he built this strategy from scratch and he changed the perception Cameroonians had about Mr. Tchiroma, which to a large extent is true because Mr. Tchiroma won the elections. And now, the communication then and the communication now are two different things. During the campaign and shortly after the campaign, you and I, we got out of bed having material to work on our different platforms. But now we struggle to have that material. And back then, Dr. Chris was appointed the sole and legitimate spokesperson for the campaign. Now we have Barrister Alice Gom appointed the spokesperson for Mr. Tchiroma, which means there is already a movement away from the politics to the governance. And we are still to hear from Mr. Tchiroma or see from Mr. Chiroma's activities if he has actually moved completely from the campaign, from the politics to the governance stage, and what are the next steps. So that is what we want to see here. Or did Mr. Chris or Dr. Chris take a back seat to focus on strategy while the spokes and the speaking is given out to Barrister Alice Gom? We don't know. Those are questions that Dr. Chris.
He would have to, yes, he will have to tell us about it. But and yes, we've also listened to him how he's talked about other opposition parties like the MRC. He's talked about UNDP, and that his objective was to crush UNDP completely. Looking at the performance of the UNDP in the election, it was really dismal. I mean, we've not seen that in the history of our country, that the UNDP performed so poorly as in the previous election, the election that just ended. Do you think that Issa Tchiroma Bakary's team did, the fact that they were able to work together, I mean, to eliminate other opponents and, like the UNDP and other opposition parties? When Dr. Chris Manning was saying that, what was going through your mind? What do you think about those thoughts from him?
One thing I have tried to form an opinion on immediately during and after the elections was the magic that spun Issa Tchiroma Bakary's reputation around. We all know, as he said, everyone knows that we're looking for the good devil to replace whatever is in Cameroon now. But that good devil could not necessarily be a child of the current regime, right? So it was difficult at that time to understand what caused that change. And he has explained to us the different strategies he used. He applied largely an American model that I am very comfortable because I understand how things work in the American.
And it's something that we've not been seeing very often in Cameroon and even in Africa. But Dr. Chris Manning is here again. He's just joined us. We understand that your internet is not there. Maybe your connectivity, you have some connectivity issues.
No, it was my phone. My phone went down.
Went off. Oh, sorry about that. But thank you for joining us again. So we're at the point where we wanted to, when many Cameroonians were believing in coalition, that it was the only solution to defeat Paul Biya. You came up with the idea of Union for Change, and the Union for Change actually endorsed Mr. Tchiroma's candidacy. Why did this approach succeed where previous coalitions failed?
Well, people believed, and I spoke to many brothers back in the US, and everyone was saying, "Oh, the coalition. You must have a coalition between other candidates. You must have Kanto. You must have this. But the issue they didn't understand was that we weren't going after any candidates or party members or whatsoever. We wanted to appeal to Cameroonians in general. That's why the first thing I did was not to use FSNC as a party, but to give a strong brand to the campaign. You always heard Tchiroma campaign. The brandings were more Tchiroma 2025 because it had to be an inclusive something. It had to be something that even if you're in another party, you feel, no, I have to abandon my party and support this candidate because he has better chance of winning. And that is what happened with UNDP. You have a very well-structured machine, but all your community and all your potential voters came to Tchiroma. Why? Because they felt he had better chances to win, and they felt he was given the right message. He wasn't coming to govern. He felt it was time for transition, not governing. Fixing the house that they call Cameroon, fixing it and letting for young people to take over. They felt the message was really appealing, and that's why they went to him. So people were completely wrong, feeling that the coalition is the only solution, or the Camto Alliance. People will be. It was very important for us to have the sense of pertinence with a bigger number of people from the civil society sector. That is why we decided to go in for Union of Change. Little revelation that I will give to you today, because I am seeing a lot of people like exciting themselves on the internet. I would tell you that today, that, for example, Union of Change has a presidium, and the co-creators of Union of Change, you have 4 people. Okay? The branding, for example, of Union for Change is my intellectual property. So you actually see that Union for Change was an instrument that was partly created by me, Jokan Tramini, Anise Ekane, and President Tchiroma. So this is politics. We needed an instrument, we created that instrument. So it is very, very important to anticipate what other had to do. We knew that nobody will accept to be part of Union for Change. Nobody will actually want to come and contest the other opponents and all that. Once we were aligned with the other brothers of Union of Change, we decided to endorse Mr. Tchiroma and see in what ways we can follow the fight with an instrument that will be more inclusive. Because when you say you're fighting or you are the candidate of Union for Change, it gives a more national flair, so that people don't say it is a party for people from the north. People say it is Union for Change. You have Bamilekes, you have Bafras, you have Anglophones, you have people from everywhere. So that is what happened. And now the people that are talking about Union for Change now, they were mandated as ambassadors of Union for Change, not the presidium. Presidium was just 4 people, and we mandated 2 people to be signatories, because of course we were leaders of other party, of a party, so we couldn't show ourselves publicly. So we mandated Jacob Chami and Anise Kane to be the ones in front to be able to run this. But they always reported to me, and they always came to me for decision before they said anything, because that is how we had structured. They come to me, we discuss it, and we see it in what ways we adopt it. I say, okay, no problem. You go, you do the communique. You go, you talk about it. So that is actually what happened with Union for Change. We needed that flair, that national instrument that will be able to house every other person. And now the people that were MF6 or ex-MF6, they decided to come support Union for Change, not FSNC. They decided to come into Union for Change. So, or to come back to his question again, to my brother's question again, we were not after Camto's machine. We were after people that identify themselves with Camto's politics, with Camto's ideals. And now we corrected what was wrong with Campto's ideals and politics. So that was the strategy, not to get Mr. Campto's machine, scrutators and all that. They even tried to help us. Our people were not even willing to let them help. So you can actually imagine how it was difficult to actually house some people that even claimed they had experience, because our people also felt they were prepared to actually take on the challenge. And they did marvelously well. You saw our team from Douala, what they did in the stadium. So you will not say another party ever did that before. So yeah, they felt they were capable and they actually did it. Not with the help of MRC, no.
All right.
MRC was actually the target also, as in every other Cameroonians.
All right, thank you. You just said you were the brain behind the Union for Change. And I will ask another question, but if you want to answer this question, what was the difference between the Union for Change and the group, the Douala, where we know that Issa Ekane, may God rest his soul, was also one of the architects and the leaders, and they had been working hard to have a consensus candidate throughout. You can talk about that. But then
correction.
Correction.
I didn't say I'm the brain behind Union for Change. I say Union for Change branding is my intellectual property. And in the presidium of Union for Change, there were 4 people that created it. I, Mr. Ekane, Mr. Issa, and President Tchiroma. And we had a group, only 4 of us. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much for that clarification. I hope it also clarifies the viewers. Now,
and now when you talk about Group the Douala was a conversation, that was how the conversation started. Meaning, Issa Ekane, Issa, they came together and they were talking with Sambaka. They were talking about this platform that can go and discuss with other candidates. And now the platform didn't have the feel and the thing that was necessary to actually carry things up. It already had some very bad fishes or bad fruits inside. You saw what happened at with the different opposition leaders in the West region. So it was not very, very good. So they decided to replicate. They came with the idea to replicate what happened in the past, the Union for Change of 1992, I guess. So once they had that, they came and we brainstormed around it, and we decided, okay, this was a good thing. The good thing was that we were going for a transition, and the conversations with them was going towards a transition. So we had 12 points. They had 9 to something points. We decided to look at our points together. I looked at the manifesto that I had done and what Jokam had done. We just put it together and we said, look, we are even looking at the same direction. So no need for us to work in different parts. Let's just join together and try to see how we can work together.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Now, I want us to clarify 1 or 2 things so that the MSCs who are watching us know exactly what you are talking about, because you've mentioned some pain points between your understanding, President Tchiroma, and the MRC. So what were those difficult conversations you had that made you know that even Maurice Kamto was not going to be a beneficiary of the people's trust as compared to the branding you were going to give President Tchiroma?
Because I understood the flaws of Mr. Maurice Kamto and I knew how to take him down. So I knew that if we go on a battle, he would not win. That was simple.
Viewers would like to know
what his flaws were.
Flaws are. What are those flaws?
I think you should buy my book. I can't say it here. Then you will not need to buy the book.
That is an advert for your book. If you signal them, people will want to read more about those. So could you highlight 2 or 3 flaws in Maurice Kamto?
A little teeth are, there is something bigger, but let me just take a simple example. We went, when Mr. Kamto was actually receiving everyone, so he received us a 2nd position, and I understood that no matter what Mr. Tchiroma proposed to him, he will not support us. It is clear that in the post-electoral fight, when our Mr. Tchiroma was fighting for his victory, if Mr. Kanto came out, it would have given a bigger sound, and maybe we would have had maybe a different result. Of course, there are also flaws in our team. There are so many things that we did not to gain power. But if he just decided to come with us, the story would have been a little bit different. Okay? Now, when we went there, we went to him. Mr. Tchiroma almost gave him everything. He was completely honest to him and open. He told him, I am giving you everything you need. I told him myself, Mr. Kanto, my position as campaign manager, I am putting it in your hands. You just need this. You just need to say yes. If you think it's too small for you, we are creating a presidium post. Decision making will be equal. You will have equal decision making as Mr. Tchiroma. There will not be someone up, someone down. You guys will be equal. Things like, oh, you will be able to set up the cabinet, okay, once we win. A lot of different things that Mr. Tchiroma gave, plus his sincerity, plus proof that he is genuine and is there, and proof that some people that were against us are not genuine. But I think before even jumping into those consultations, he already wanted Mr. Bello Buba. I feel so. This was what I felt at the moment. He wanted Mr. Bello Buba, although there were reasonable facts that showed that maybe Mr. Bello was not completely following the interests of the opposition. So this is just a small thing, but there are bigger things that made me feel, yeah. But if he ran, he would not even, I'm not sure he will be second. I'm not sure. He will be second, not even third.
So you've talked about the candidacy, of course, of Bello Buba Maigari, because we wanted to also understand why coming together, forming a coalition between the northern candidates was impossible because we didn't see that happen. Was there any particular reason for that? Because people were really anticipating and hoping that it was going to happen.
The strategy was simple. We had inside information. We knew that Mr. Bello wasn't completely genuine, okay? Because of all what you yourself, you saw after the election. Everybody saw the reaction of PCRN, the reaction of UNDP, and so on. So people finally saw what we already knew, okay? Now, in political communication and political marketing, you don't come to your adversary and try to take him down openly. People will think that you are grieving, or maybe you are not very sincere, or you just want to pick a fight with the wrong people. That Mr. Biya is the person you have to fight with. Why are you fighting with your co-opposition leader? So we couldn't pick a fight with him openly, open, of course. But I had to find ways to destroy him in the back. So I did that because we knew that he was not genuine. We knew that if we gave him the candidacy, he would never do what Mr. Tchiroma did, for example. We knew that. So the option was to force the hands of our voters, people to understand through our destruction that they have nothing to benefit from going to Mr. Bello. So we just had to force their hands. But one time when Mr. Tchiroma couldn't keep it himself, you saw it yourself, was the live interview with Equinox, why he had to come out. He told me, look, I'm going to say it and you find a way to fix it, but I can't hold it. So he just did it, and I had to find a way to fix it. The next outing, the next video I did, you saw how he said, Mon frère Bello, if I hurt you, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. So that was a stunt to actually cancel what he did, because we already knew that he would do it because he couldn't hold it back.
Yeah, thank you. You said you found a way to beat Bello Buba in the north. This definitely pushes me to think about two things. When before the elections, Bello Buba was more popular in the north and had more ground game than Issa Tchiroma Bakary. Then you beat him in the north. Tell us how you beat him, what you did to beat him, because a party without a ground game, without many militants or many sympathizers on the field, would hardly have enough scrutateur in the various polling stations. But we saw that the FSNC had significant number of scrutateur both in the north and in the south. In the north, I don't know the game, but I know that in the south we had people like Metro Sim, we had people like Parfum Boom, Professor Abba Oyono, and Rebecca Inonchongs, who came together to give that support. That is visible in the south. How did that work in the north?
Well, the first thing about the Bello fight was trying to put in the light what was hidden, using his own system to destroy him, creating doubt, because the first thing I did was to create doubt for people to actually start doubting their own system. Okay, so when I created the doubt, I had to get it one more step, trying to get his own people to question his motivation. And now, once you do that, you don't have to keep it under closed doors. You have to make sure that the whole world knows about it. So once it happens, you make sure that it sounds really loud and you keep the same narrative, not from you, but from other people. That says it is impossible that someone is actually looking for the good of the opposition once he has a senator nominated that is nominated by Mr. Biya as his campaign manager. He has the this, he has the that. So I even remember the last meeting I had with Mr. Nguyen. Once he told me, Doctor, you know what? In fact, with a lot of condescendence, he told me openly that they have a very big machine and they are represented in all different regions. And I need to know that it is just normal that Mr. Tchiroma should come behind them, because Mr. Tchiroma is the follower of Mr. Bello, and Mr. Bello is a king, is a prince from the village or whatsoever. I was so offended. And he even came personal. And I told him, look, you don't play that game with me. I will destroy you. I will destroy you. You will even regret why you were in this race. And of course, that's what happened. When he jumped out of my office, the same thing, the same day, I started destroying them. Because, in fact, you'll never see my people going on TV talking bad about them. But I will be one of the architects of the disorder that happens in your camp. And I will kill them from the inside. I will make sure I know everything that happens there. For example, Mr. Muna was negotiating with them. I knew. I spoke with Mr. Muna like a few hours before. I told him not to give him a positive response. He told me he was going to come back to me if I had something good to offer to him. And at the end of the day, he gave him his support because he genuinely felt that he had better chances with Mr. Bello. But that was a big mistake, because I showed to them that even if all the opposition goes behind Mr. Bello, we'll still beat them because we'll discredit all of them. And that's the power that we brought into the campaign that was not natural in the Cameroon election system. Nobody knew about what I call the strategic power layer. The strategic power layer is the power game that happens behind. You have to be there. You have to spend 3 hours on the phone with Boris Bertol. You have to spend 5 hours with Zoomento. You have to spend hours and hours with people that have the capacity to turn things around. And you have to make them feel the things you feel, understand the way you understand things, so that they will be the push. And once it becomes like a cycle, that the bullets are coming from everywhere, obviously they will fall. And at the end of the day, you also try to sabotage your operational efforts. For example, Mr. Bello had a rally, and suddenly what happened is that he went to his rally and it was completely empty. I don't know what happened, but Those were one of the things that made him to even feel discouraged. By the end of the day, he felt he couldn't even win. He felt it because he didn't even continue the rest of the rallies. He just went back. So
yeah, you have cited some names: Zwimanto, Boris Berthold, Mimi Mefo, and the others. But what I want to get from you is these are diasporan operatives who are on the social media. What I'm not hearing from you about the operation is what happened on the ground. We know in the north we have people like Abdurrahman Baba, we have people like Usman May, who are, let me call them political leaders that are listened to. Are you trying to tell us that you do not operate with these networks on the ground that have the people's ears?
That is the outdated system. People think that things happen that way, but it doesn't happen. Mr. Baba Abdurrahman, the only thing he wanted to help me with, he came to my office 2 times. The only thing he wanted to help me with was with the platform to actually compile different results. So, but no, and maybe he felt the momentum towards the end, and he helped us during the rallies on the field. But those are just consequences. I have to understand. You have to completely impact the 3 layers. For example, the first one, which is the visibility. Once you do that, people will naturally want to be part of the movement. That's why I said my first challenge was to create a myth, to create like the God sent, the new Jesus. Once you do that, the next thing is that people who feel that they want to have a political future, they will say, I want to be part of this movement because I see that there is something special about this movement. And that's when you find the Abdurrahmans that will come and say, can I come to your meetings? You have the Mr. Abao that will say, I want to come to your rally. And you have also the Maitre Sim that will say, my president said we shouldn't be there, but I cannot miss this. It is a very important step. And I think it will be crucial. And I cannot be out of the game. I'm a politician. I can't be out of the game. So you have to create the environment which will make people feel that if they are not part of it, they are missing something that is really marvelous, and they will not be part of history. They will naturally come. And of course, that were big names that we actually used, but at a distance. None of them were directly involved with the campaign. None of them. Alice Come, no. Rebecca, no. All of them were external people that we used because of their credibility. And sometimes they even took public positions without even consulting us. We didn't have direct contact with them.
Yeah, but these people that you have mentioned have played a very instrumental role post-election.
Very crucial role.
Yes,
and it was very important. That's why we call them ambassadors. Ambassadors, because they had this ambassador role, and it was very crucial. Very crucial. It was an important part of the person.
Mobilizing Cameroonians, and their doings, their actions have really created a lot of impact, and conscientized Cameroonians. They've been so bold, put their lives on the line, and so many things that maybe we'll get to discuss during this conversation. But I wanted us to go, Bernard, to election day. As an architect of Tchiroma's campaign, what was your impression when you saw vote counting videos showing, because we were also releasing them here at MMI, showing that Issa Tchiroma Bakary was leading in most of the polling stations in the regions. Did you believe that you were winning, or you believe that the real battle was just beginning? Because you've talked about the fact that earlier during this conversation, you talked about, okay, you won the election, but you did not win the presidency. But when you were seeing the video, did you have the impression that the battle was just about to begin?
Well, from day one, and also one day before election, I had a private conversation with the president, and I told him this: President, I know exactly what is going to happen tomorrow. You are going to win this election. But winning the election is one thing. What comes next is the most important thing. There are 2 things that is going to happen. But before that, to fix the temptation and the things that are going to happen after this day, I want you to go have some time with your family, talk to your daughters, ground yourself, because it will be detrimental. That time I will not have power again, maybe to cover you or to take decisions on your behalf. No, people will look at you, and it will be determinate. It will be determinate on which direction we go. So, President, please, I want you to be grounded, because I have to be honest with you. Once we were doing rally, and I know that because it's just normal for every human being, he started becoming a little bit pooped up. And this is normal for everyone. That once you have too much love, too much people that see you as if you are the new Jesus, the new God, you will start feeling like maybe you are a superhuman. Maybe you can stand in front of a bullet and you don't die. So I had to ground him, because I started feeling that. So I had to talk to him and tell him why it is important for him to be grounded for the next stage. Because we knew that there will be a next stage. It was impossible not to have a next stage. We are talking about 43 years of power. And that's why in my strategy, there was the third layer, which is the strategic power layer, which is the different strategies that will permit us to gain power. Now, it was very simple. Mr. Tchiroma, after the election, would have had a lot of people that would come to him, because he had won the election. He had won the vote. I didn't talk about winning the presidency, because when you win the elections, is one thing. But winning power is that thing that will permit you to become head of state. Power is what makes maybe the military guys actually become head of states without even an election. It's because elections is not actually a total guarantee of power. You need to also fight for power. You need to also have power acquisition once you are running for an election. And I knew that part was detrimental. I knew we were going towards that. So he had to be ready, because at that moment, Dr. Chris will have no say anymore. Everybody will be looking at him. Everybody will be listening to him. And he will have the possibility to say, you, I bring you in. You, I don't bring you in, and so on. Me, I had a plan. I had a strategy. He's not in my brain. He doesn't know exactly what my strategy is. So he may take some decisions that may go against the formal strategy that I had for him. So I wanted him to be grounded, because it was very important for the aftermath, the next part, which maybe we shall be talking now about now.
Thank you so much. Talking about the strategy moving forward after the elections, sounds as if you based your strategy on reality. The reality that he who controls power controls who goes into the presidency. And on this basis, what do you think you lost control of, or you do not have control of on election night?
Okay. And that is the last part of my book, and I invite people to go read it. How did we lose power? The first thing, once you are in an election that has to do with change should never be brutal. Never. Because there are so many crosses of power. Our campaign was talking to normal Cameroonians, and most of the times they are middle class, okay? But there are also different classes involved in a country. In a country, you will not always have only middle class or low class. You also have people of the elites, the high class, and so on. So that is why change should not be brutal. Because when people feel that your change is brutal, it brings what they call fear. Now, why is fear very important in an election? Because fear will push people to do everything to stop you if it has to disrupt their normality. If it disrupts their normality, they will do everything to stop you. If they feel that they are gaining something with the change you're bringing, the radical change you're bringing, then they may support you. But in this sense, once we are talking about an election that is based on change, you should dose a little bit. So the change should not be radical, it should be systematically progressive. It should be progressive, and it should go with your narrative. Now, imagine that we had people from the West, from the littoral, from the this, elites in those different countries and in those different regions who didn't intimidate, who didn't buy, pay, and do this. We wouldn't have a lot of fraud. Because people felt that the brutal change is going to be detrimental for their normality, some of them didn't even wait for the regime. You can even see that the regime maybe has nothing to do with that. Some people didn't wait for the regime to give them an order, and they single-handedly decided to go do something about it in their region. Just because of fear, just because they were scared of what would happen if it was reversed. This is also another reason why I feel that Mr. Kamto made a very big mistake in 2020 by not going to the municipal election, because he didn't create leaders. This is the same way today in 2026, Mr. Tchiroma may surely not go for election, which I'm completely in agreement, but which I feel that his people should go for elections. Why? Because the same rapport de force that is in these different regions with these elites that single-handedly feels that they can go and pay money to people for them to change their votes, that they can go and threaten people for them to change their vote, that they can change results and so on. It happens locally. And that could have been a different story if, for example, Tchiroma had a mayor, for example, in a region, he's an elite. And that mayor will be the one to shout when something wrong wants to happen in his city. He would have that energy to say, this is wrong. It will not cancel, but it will reduce fraud.
So, Dr. Chris Maneng, even just before we continue now,
the power,
because
the change, the radical change was one of the reasons.
Dr. Chris Maneng, can you hear me?
The radical change was one of the reasons. I can hear you.
Yes, so because you just mentioned,
yes, I can hear you.
Election boycott in 2020 and this 2026. Let us not talk about the election in Cameroon like we don't know the system and how it functions. If you were a supporter of or a member of the FSNC party in Cameroon, somewhere in the Littoral or in Yaoundé, would you freely want to participate in the election now under the banner of Tchiroma's party? Looking at how many people have been arrested after this election, how many people have been killed for being affiliated to Tchiroma's party, affiliated with Tchiroma's party, would you want to participate in the election under his party? I think we lost our guest there. Maybe his phone went off again. But Bernard, how do you see the conversation so far? It's quite interesting, right?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because it's bringing us behind the scenes, and we're understanding the power play between Issa Tchiroma Bakary, Bello Buba, and Maurice Kamto. But one thing I am not getting clearly is whether he actually believes that everything that was done was under the strength of Issa Tchiroma Bakary, and no other actor played a significant role, because he seems to be downplaying the presence or the role of every other actor and putting all the magic on Issa Tchiroma Bakary and himself.
So it's important to also know, how other opposition parties, like we had people from different opposition parties joining openly and even in private Issa Tchiroma Bakary's party. So it's something that will be interesting to know. Dr. Chris Maneng, you are back. Welcome back. Yes. So the question I was asking is, if you, looking at, after the election, so many people were arrested. Others were even killed for belonging or even, supporting Issa Tchiroma Bakary. If you were in Cameroon, you wanted to run for you wanted to become a mayor, for instance, or a parliamentarian, would you openly want to run under Mr. Tchiroma's party, looking at how anyone who supports Tchiroma is treated in Cameroon at the moment?
Looks like you're still frozen.
Yes, I think so. The network is not good from his end. So the reason why, Bernard, this question is very important is there's been a lot of debates about the election boycott. Professor Kamto boycotted in 2020, and Mr. Tchiroma has just announced the boycott, insisting that his party will not be taking part. Some people are of the view that it's a good strategy because of the political atmosphere in Cameroon. Others believe that it's not a good idea because of seeing the repercussions in the 90s with the SDF. We've seen that with Professor Kamto's MRC and now Mr. Tchiroma. What do you think about that?
I think it's a dicey equation to resolve. The reason is when the SDF regretted that they did not participate in the most immediate legislative elections after the presidential elections of 1992, they came back, but their party kept on dying down. Now, is Maurice Kamto's MRC planning any other strategy that is going to make the party survive the threats or the weaknesses that are built in the boycott? I don't know. And it's, to me, it's not even a question of the grounds for the boycott in 2020 are still there. To me, I don't think that is the question. The question should be, how are they planning to overcome the system that caused them to boycott? Because nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. In 2025, they kicked out his candidature. Then 2026, he wants to go in. I don't know if he has any grounds to believe that the same system that rejected his candidature is going to validate his candidature and is going to give him the seats that he actually wins if the candidature is validated. I don't know if he has any assurance around that. That is something that he needs to communicate and let people understand. On the other hand, for Issa Tchiroma Bakary, saying that he's not going for elections for legitimate purposes makes sense, because you cannot say that the president is illegitimate and is organizing elections and then you go to contest in those elections. That is going to be illogical. But then the question is, while boycotting the elections, what is the contingency plan? You're not going in for the elections, yes, but then what are you planning? Are you just planning to fold your arms and sit down? Tell Cameroonians what you are planning for. If not, then what Chris Manning was saying about building a group of leaders makes sense, because you can have a group of leaders that keeps on with the continuity. But again, I'm looking at it like, okay, it's 60 years.
Is it building the group of leaders, outside the FSNC? Because we saw even videos of ordinary civilians in Douala. Just because someone was saying that I'm supporting Issa Tchiroma Bakary, they were being beaten by forces of law and order. So to belong in Tchiroma's party now is tantamount to, arrest, detention, or even, assault, killing. We never know.
That is the problem. That is the consequence of having a regime in place for more than 60 years. They have built in the infrastructure, they have built in everything, and they are ready to defend that regime because they know that they are at their weakest point right now. So they are doing everything to maintain it. And the biggest strategy they are using here is physical dissent. They just try to eliminate any form of dissent, and they do it with the highest level possible. So they are going to do that, and I don't see how this is not going to translate into the ballot box. But at the same time, what are the proposals? What are the risks or what are the options that boycotting is putting on the table. Are you boycotting for boycotting's sake, or are you boycotting to propose something that is going to take Chiroma to Etudi? Are Cameroonians feeling that what you are proposing is actually going to take him to Etudi? If not, then as Chris was saying, why not build a network of leaders, maybe 10 leaders, maybe 20 leaders in the field? But again, how are those leaders going to change anything considering what the current regime is doing to maintain themselves in power? Is there going to be any change? Is there going to be significant change to ensure that these leaders can actually say one or two things to maintain or to bring change in the country? So that is what I'm looking at. But generally, if there is a general mass movement that supports the elections and everyone can participate and ensure that the results are respected, or ensure that after the elections, there is a system put in place to make sure that the results of the elections are respected, I think I'll go in for that option.
Yeah, so I like the fact that you were asking whether it's possible also, not just to have the leaders, but whether it's even possible for the would-be leaders or aspiring leaders to actually go in for the election. Dr. Chris Maneng, I don't know if you followed the question, because I wanted to find out if you wanted to run for, the post of mayor or parliamentarian. Would you do that in a city like Douala or Yaoundé in Cameroon under the FSNC? Because you were talking about, you were saying that the boycott is not the solution. But can you run now in Cameroon as mayor or parliamentarian under the FSNC?
Well, politics is a permanent game. It's not a temporal game. It's not a game for 2 weeks and then I rest 2 months and come back again. No, it's a permanent game, and the fight is a permanent fight. So if someone is not ready, should not be in that field, because once you are in that field, you need to find strategies to actually get to your final objective. Let's try to understand, for example, the strategy that Ouattara used to actually be where he is right now. It was a long shot. He knew that there was instability. At a certain point, when they didn't want him to run, they said, okay, no problem. Or he creates little noise and all that. The president at the time didn't want noise. It's okay. Let us sit and talk and see how we can coexist. No problem. He said, I'm too big. I consider myself to even be bigger than you. So I won't lower myself down to be working with you directly. Let me give you my little guy. My little guy is going to look at what is happening there where you are. Now, my little guy had a secret role also to destabilize you from the inside and to do everything to kind of create a balance of power, so that when I want to go all in to you, I have someone that will be able to be heard, that someone that will be able to give orders and people listen. So he got Guillaume Soro to be the prime minister. Now, Guillaume Soro was prime minister, and Guillaume Soro actually was the one that organized elections. And Guillaume Soro was still the person that came and said, but you didn't win. Ouattara is the one who won. Why? He was the prime minister. Now, being the prime minister, he got some contacts with people in government that could actually follow him in case there was a seizure. So that's just to say, at the point we are right now, we need to fight, and the fight needs to be from the inside. Now, let's talk about someone who wants to run, for example, for an office. He's from the FSNC. The good job we've done is to raise alarm. The alarm is already out there. Ask yourself why Miss Alice Combs is not arrested. It's not just because she's a woman. It's not just because she's a lawyer. It's because of what has happened to the people before her. They don't want to have a second Anisikane, for example. So if she was the first that was given that position and she was saying what she said, she would have been in jail. But because there was someone before her that ended up the way he ended up, they will not want to have a second person, because there are international communities behind kind of knocking the door and saying, oh, what is happening is not good. if it becomes a habit, then it could be a reason for destabilization. So they will not repeat the mistake 2 times. It's not because they arrested people during election when they actually had to show that they are really strong, that they're immovable, that nobody can shake them. It will not be the reason, the same technique that we use to say that the election that they are organizing that is supposed to be credible, they will still imprison people just because people are candidates. The fact that you're even candidate is an immunity. So the strategy will be to have the candidates, they run.
But also is taking part in the election not giving legitimacy to a government that is illegitimate?
Okay, let me ask you another question. If we don't participate and we sit back, okay, it means you are telling me that Kanto is legitimizing the regime. He said he's going for election. And what is going to happen? What is going to happen is that Kanto is going to say, I am going for election. But yes, you're right. Fight for your presidency. Fight. But me, I'm going. And tomorrow he's going to say, please give me your base. He's going to tell to people, to Chiroma's people, give me your base. Let them vote for me. My people supported you. Now you support me. The conversation will not be again who is legitimizing the regime. It's going to be, did Kanto win or not? Is Kanto stronger than Tchiroma? Kanto had these numbers of seats, and this is how they will forget about Tchiroma. Kanto comes back as the principal opposer, and the Tchiroma chapter is off. It is the wrong strategy. It's so wrong and so dumb, because the only thing you're doing right now is to give all the work you've done to Maurice Kanto. That's all. And the narrative of Maurice Kanto today will be to say, yes, Tchiroma is right. He shouldn't go for elections. He shouldn't. No, he is the right guy. He has to defend his victory. You are saying that, but you are going. If he had said, no, I'm not going, nobody is going, I'm not encouraging no one from the opposition to go, then it would have been something that would have made sense to me. But if he said,
not yet declared whether his party will be running or not.
He's going.
So,
the inside we know because he's setting up everything. He's calling, his teams are calling people from the FSNC to kind of join and so on. So from the inside, we know what is happening. His lieutenants, if you want to hear what the leader says, hear what his lieutenants are saying. Everybody knows that MRC is going for this election. It's not a lie. He's going. Okay, now, if he's going, it means, does he support the position of Mr. Tchiroma? If it's yes, why doesn't he do the same as Tchiroma and boycott the election and say, I'm not going? If he thinks that what he did in 2020 was right, why don't he repeat that today? Because he himself doesn't recognize the Biya regime. You guys should think about it. The only thing that he would have succeeded to do, the only thing that people that were MRC people that are around Mr. Tchiroma today, and that doesn't have my strategy anymore, the only thing they'll succeed to do is to take Mr. Tchiroma out of the picture. Out of the picture. And Mr. Kanto is going to be the leader. Everybody is going to give Mr. Kanto the power, and Mr. Kanto can even win the National Assembly. Exactly what I wanted Mr. Tchiroma to do. Mr. Kanto is going to do that. Now, if you feel Mr. Kanto can do that, why then not let Mr. Tchiroma, with the movement that he already created, go for the National Assembly and now have power, have a lot of elected people in the National Assembly that could vote some laws that will fix everything? Why not try it?
I have two questions.
Because if you don't try it, someone else says he will do it. If you don't do it, another person will do it, and he will take your base to do it. So why not do it yourself? Sometimes when you talk about these games,
I have two questions for you, Dr. Chris. The first question is, you sound like there is already an acted divorce between you and President Tchiroma. Is that correct? And then secondly, you sound like you believe that despite rigging the presidential elections, the CPDM and the Biya regime are going to let the winner of, or the winners of the legislative elections get into power freely? Could you answer those two questions, please?
Well, what is sure is that the Biya regime is going to always try to get the things the way they want. But you saw it with the presidential. They try by all means to reduce our power, but actually they still show that we are strong, because they are not, in fact, they have no choice than to give us what belongs to us. Now, even if they don't give 100% of what we had, like 60 or something, and they give us 30 something, they still give us something. With that, translated to the legislative and municipal election, what does it mean? It means that if today we know that Tchiroma is supposed to gain maybe 70% of the National Assembly seats, and he ends up having 30%, that is still a very strong arm of people that can sit and paralyze the system if they want. Let's go back to the field work. You even have 20 mayors, elected members in Littoral. You say you want to paralyze, you want to strike in Douala. All the mayors said they are not going to work. What happens? All what you do actually works because you are using a strategy. Are you going to fight with no arms? Mr. Tchiroma has no weapon. When I say weapon, it means he has no military, nothing like that. He's looking at diplomacy. Okay, if he has also no elected members who can fight from the inside, what will be the system that will actually take this regime out? What will?
Yeah, but Dr. Chris, going for the election, but it's going for the election, not a regime strategy to show the international community that all is well in Cameroon, because as it stands now, after the presidential election, the regime cannot borrow money actually, because everyone is worried about Mr. Tchiroma's impasse. Is going or participating in the election not helping the regime that is in place?
It's not helping, because there's what they call in French cohabitation. This is what is happening in France right now. Would you say that because people participated and they are challenging the President Macron in their National Assembly, would you say that it is actually helping him? No. People say his methods are not right, but they are fighting the fight. And they are putting pressure to him, because having a lot of people that are against you in the National Assembly is actually a really big pain. Now, imagine you yourself, you have been witness of an international community that bows down to the regime. You have been witness. Now, you hope that not going to the election is going to give a message to an international community that they already have in their pocket. I am talking because I spoke directly with them. I am the one who spoke to the UN, European Union, and all of them, the senators in the US and all of them. So I know that there is not direct actions that they can do as of now, as it is right now. You have to play the political game if you want to put out this regime. You have to play the political game. If you don't play, let me tell you this. If you don't play the political game, what's the result? The result is that the CPDM is going to have 100% in the National Assembly. You will be the only opposition leader that doesn't participate, because they would, if you don't legitimize it, bigger people than you will legitimize it. Kanto will legitimize it. Cabral Libi will legitimize it. All the others will do. If you told me that that was a consensual and a generalized decision, that all the opposition leaders decided not to go for election, I will understand. But the regime still has power to show to the international community that all the main opposition leaders are participating. Then what are you going to do? Your non-participation is bringing nothing on the table, and it's removing nothing.
Dr. Chris, so finally, you said that winning an election without the power cannot take it to A2D. Now you seem to be contradicting that message. Can you clarify what power is?
Okay, for me, and of course, the internet actually disturbed us, so I actually didn't conclude when I was talking about power. What lacked how we lacked power, how we lacked to play the power game. In this election, the regime concentrated on their power, the power they have, controlling power, controlling the instruments or the power institutions, controlling power on the ground. But we didn't concentrate on that. The first thing we had to do in the narrative was not to scare people that actually have power in this country, the businessmen, the elites, and so on. We shouldn't scare them. When you scare them, they will act against you. Not because they don't want change, but because they are scared of losing what they already have. That's the first thing. That's the kind of power I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the power to decide, the power of the presidency, because at that stage of an election, nobody has the power. Everybody is putting together a strategy to grab that power. Now, the people alone doesn't give you power. It gives you legitimacy. Now you have to grip the power. The second thing for you to get power is you need to be able to set some things on the ground that will help you demonstrate this power. All the religious leaders, for example, all the opposition leaders, for example, you have to have the right speech to be able to get them with you. And you need to have a long decision to actually grab a power that is being confiscated for 43 years. That is why the very big mistake we did was to let Mr. Tchiroma step out of this country. The power left when Tchiroma left. We had the power when he was down. I know it because I knew how people...
Are you saying that him leaving the country actually weakened his legitimacy?
Yeah, it weakened him because we already had a good amount of power. People listened to him as if he was the president, but it happened when he was on ground. So we just had to play the political game. Even if we didn't win 100% of what we went for, we would have won something that would permit us to get the full power in few weeks or months. But the fact that he left the ground for which he is supposed to be the supreme, he left the power behind him. And someone went and just took that power away.
If he stayed in Cameroon, would he have been
Say it again?
Would he have been alive and safe if he had stayed in Cameroon?
Well, what I can guarantee to you is that from the look of things, things would have developed very fast if he was still in Cameroon. Because the strategy of the regime also was for him to decide to go away from the country, to go out of the country. That was the strategy, for him to go out of the country.
But you were still in control when he left the country, Dr. Chris Maneng. So
I didn't have the information that he left. It happened. The final decision for him to leave, because you saw my communication. My communication was to make him say that he will never leave the country. The fight is here, and if he has to die, he will die for his power. That was my communication. You heard it. But you cannot say that. I cannot make him say that, and tomorrow I tell him to leave the country. That decision was taken without my consent. He shouldn't have. If he gave me 2 more weeks, and I can assure you that the regime was panicking, they couldn't do anything because I had already mobilized the United Nations that were there and observing. And exactly when people were trying to do something, the United Nations was calling and saying, don't touch him. They didn't penetrate in the house, not because they didn't have the power to. We had no one. There was no army. If they wanted to get into Chiroma's home, they would have gotten in. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. They didn't get in because the pressure was too much, because he had power. He had power. And the UN were, in every second, they were calling me. European Union, every second, because they knew who actually had power that time. Once he left, he lost everything.
Dr. Chris, I asked a question that you did not answer. Is the divorce between you and President Tchiroma consummated?
Okay, this is my response. Who is there behind in my office?
I don't think that should be the response, because your answer here now has shown that you are no longer.
My answer is in two directions. Okay. The first is you have to think about the bigger picture. You have to think about what is at stake. Here we are talking about a campaign that I know we did brilliant. Everybody could have his opinion. Some people could say you guys won. Some people could say you didn't win, and so on. But I know what I feel about this election. Now, the second thing is, do I think that the current strategy is right? I feel not. Now, what do I feel personally about my dad, Tchiroma? I will love him always. Now, what I know is that the effect I had on Mr. Tchiroma is the effect that other people can have on him. It just depends who is around him. Now, what advice would those people give to him? Do they have a bigger picture on what is going on? Do they even know what they are doing? I guess not. Because if they had a bigger picture and they knew exactly where they were going, they will have a simple reading at what is happening and they will say, no, this is not the right direction to go. So I have a problem with the strategy. I don't have a problem with the person. It's my dad. And if I'm doing what I'm doing, although my mandate as their campaign manager is over, if I'm doing this, it's because I feel a sense of responsibility towards him and towards the millions of people, the leaders that came to me millions of times and told me, doctor, we are coming to you to support Tchiroma, to support you because tomorrow we want you to support us to win our cities so that we can impact, so that we can bring change at our little levels. Because if you leave CPDM, be the new mayor of my city, for example, I will still be the one to suffer. My people will still be the one to suffer. Even if we can't have a bigger change from now, we should have small changes at small levels. Yeah, why would you rob people from that, from having those small changes?
Before you come in, Bernard, please, sorry. Dr. Chris Maneng, I wanted to find out from you, why did you stop being the campaign manager of Mr. Tchiroma, since you say the relationship is still good? You've just shown us his picture on your wall. There are also reports that you were no longer loyal to Mr. Tchiroma Bakary, and that you were working, according to the allegations, you're working with members of the Biya government. What would be your reaction to these allegations?
Okay, the first thing is that I am a very faithful person, very faithful. I won't say why I'm a faithful person, but I'm very faithful. The second thing is that Mr. Tchiroma, for me, it is the first time that I get very emotional in a job. The first time I implicate myself personally, that I feel a bigger purpose. So much that I feel so deep that, and if you read my book, you understand what I said. You will understand that there are people that are supposed to help him that actually destroyed. I will not say that I left being the campaign manager because I held my post till the end of the campaign. You know it. I left my post. Never left my post because I finished the campaign. I activated plan A, plan B, plan C. So that level 3 was still coordinated and I was still, but the issue is you need to know that the interest of all Cameroonian people is the most important thing. The interest of all Cameroonian people. Everybody saw Mr. Tchiroma, and I, the first, because I trusted him, saw Mr. Tchiroma as the vehicle to actually bring permanent change. Mr. Tchiroma himself knows that because it helped us in a certain level. He knew that before actually becoming his campaign manager. I could have been the campaign manager for many different people. He knew that I was proposed a ministerial post before even coming to Cameroon to become the campaign manager. So why will I say no to a ministerial post? Become Mr. Tchiroma's campaign manager. And after, when we win, I've shown what I'm capable of doing. And I go and I start working with the Biya region. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I'm saying again today, I will never support any party. I have calls today of people telling me they want me to be their campaign manager. I have people from UNDP. I told you the other day, UNDP called me to help them. I have people from known parties, but no party that partook in this election will have my support, because all those parties or all those candidates kind of had a problem, according to me. So I think the person that will be the next president of this country will not be one of those who actually participated in this election, because all of them had a flaw. They had flaws, all of them. I think it's someone that we don't even know yet. That is why it is important to actually send all these youths on the field to detect who will actually be qualified in 7 years from now, or in 5 years, or in 4 years, we never know, to actually be equipped to win the next presidential. And that is the person I will give my full energy. As you can see right now, the only people that I'm supporting,
it could be
the only people that I am supporting will always be the people that cry to me, and the people that comes to me every day and telling me, doctor, you promised us. Doctor, you promised us. Why are you guys not saying nothing? Why is the president not saying nothing? You understand? Those are the people I'm supporting, and I'm telling them, if you run, I will support you. I'll give you my expertise. And a lot of youths from the party called me, and I am supporting them, and I will support them. You will never hear me supporting PCRN, RDPC, whosoever, because ideologically we don't match. Ideologically, I'm someone who cannot adhere to your concept. You understand? So it's my playbook. What my colleagues are using today is my playbook, but they cannot use it on me because I am the founder of it. And I will say this clearly in front here. The person who was the most instrumental into making Tchiroma decide to go for this fight is the same person that was instrumental to making him lose power. His daughter. That is it. I think that it was a very big deception to me, because I took her as my blood sister. Like, I loved her so much. And I was praying for her not to do this mistake. And she did it. So, yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not a traitor. I'm not a, all what I'm telling you is science. I'm talking to you 1 + 1.
So how
I'm
did
not
she
telling
do
you
that? Because we've never seen her on the media. How exactly did she do that? Sorry,
I almost made her very popular. Luckily, we didn't go. Yeah, so she was my closest collaborator. When I told you at the top we were 3, it was her, me, and the president. So there was no other person. The campaign was there was no campaign. There is no machine. It's actually the 3 of us. There was no machine. But she was very instrumental, because she was this emotional attach that I needed to keep him grounded. But I had to do everything for her not to, because when someone is a member of your family, the person can direct you wrong or right. So until the end, she trusted me. She let me do whatever. We were always aligned. She loved me. In fact, she showed me she loved me as I loved her. So she was my best friend, my sister, but at the end, she didn't take the right direction. I confided in her, telling her what was the fourth level, the 4th layer of the plan that I had. I didn't tell the president. I only told her. And for her, it wasn't switching for her. So she decided to create a coup d'etat. And they did everything. They did a coup d'etat to replace me with Eric Chinje and then Rebecca, blah, blah, blah. So they added different people. It didn't work. They changed to this. It didn't work. They changed to this. It didn't work. So, but it's just unfortunate that my plan couldn't get to the end. Everybody knew, everybody could feel it, that something was wrong at a certain level. At a certain level, everybody felt like this man knows exactly what he's doing. But suddenly, everything went down. All the people that were working with me, Boris Berto and all that, they got discouraged and they left because the line wasn't there anymore.
We were about to close, but I think let me just get this question to you. Why do you think that because it's normal that in a campaign situation, after campaign, especially when you win, you start thinking about governance. And thinking about governance means thinking about other experts or other people who can carry the team forward. Why do you think that at this point, your role became, or your person became irrelevant to Issa Tchiroma Bakary?
I won't say it became irrelevant, because someone becomes irrelevant if he's been used. You understand? If it's been used. But I don't want to say I've been used, because I was in total control of what I was doing, and I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. But if I had a private conversation with Mr. Tchiroma, it's because I knew that time would reach where everybody sees you as the president and everybody wants to have a piece of the cake. So that time is very strategic. And that's why the first thing I did when I felt that this is the right talk, this is actually the only solution for us to win the power struggle, the power game. I felt the only person that can depose me, you have to be realistic when you're a strategist. The only person that can depose me is not Tchiroma, it's his daughter. You understand? We know. The only person that can put me aside, because a president is someone who is up. He needs every information that is coming from left and right. That is coming from everywhere. He needs information that is coming from everywhere. Now, imagine that I come and tell him something. He would tell me, "Doctor, what's the result of what we posted yesterday? How do the people feel about it?" He would just react to what I told him, because he's not on social media. He cannot be scanning everyone, everything. So that is the same way as, because I was tucked in Cameroon, I couldn't move, and I was kind of protecting myself. The only person that could actually stop me from talking and telling Mr. Tchiroma what is the next strategy and what is the next step is the daughter. She's the only one that could stop me from telling him what was the real next step. And that is what she did. She just stopped me from talking to him. And now I cannot control what she tells him. Because, for example, I have a private conversation with her and I tell her, "Look, this is the next step. This is exactly what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to win." If she's not okay with that, okay, she would just create something, because we're in different countries. By then I was in Cameroon and he was in Nigeria. We're in different countries. And then she would just say, "Okay, his phone is not working anymore." She deletes my number from his phone. I have no contact with him. Now, if I have no contact with him, and he, the president, knows that I'm his lieutenant, he doesn't see me, hear from me for 2 weeks, for example, he will obviously ask the person he considers to be my sister, "Where is your brother?" And my sister now, because she knows that, she has to keep me from saying something to the president. She would tell him, "Oh, because of protection, he was scared, so he ran away." Because I spoke to Mr. Tchiroma 2 weeks ago, that's what he told me. He told me, they told him I had left because of safety reason. I had to run away and detach myself from the campaign. That's the information he had. So if someone gave him fake or not true, untrue narratives, because the person wants to stop me from telling him what I feel is the next step, obviously he will never know, and he will pick the wrong call. He will make the wrong call, and now she will try to put around. I'm telling you this from conviction. The issue
Yes,
was not.
because
The issue was
yes,
not.
from
Let me
conviction,
finish
it's
with
from
this. Let
conviction,
me
but
finish with this. The issue
not
was
really
not.
from facts,
The issue
because
was not to. The issue was not to grow with other members, because we were working with everyone. All the people that finally came in are the same people that we were in communication with. But the only problem is that we didn't let them in because the strategy had to be tight. Tight. Nobody had to know the strategy so that the regime doesn't know what was our next step. And it worked. But because the main guy had to be put aside, she had to look for someone that would play my role. So trying to bring in so many different people and so on, did it work out? No, it didn't work out. So that is where we are.
So if Issa Tchiroma Bakary's team now calls you in to the team and say, I mean, the question was just, what is your strategy now to,
Okay.
because you said
He
you just
did.
spoke with
He
Issa
did.
Tchiroma.
I spoke to him.
Are you going
He
back?
told me it's good as you actually found a way to come to talk to me. Okay. Now, what will happen is that after the holidays, we are going to sit and restructure everything. But the problem is not restructuring, because the problem is not about Tchiroma. The problem is not about me. We are fighting a bigger fight. You understand? So once he said that, 2 days later, someone deleted my number from his phone again. You understand? Someone
How do
deleted.
you know that,
Because-
Dr. Chris? How do you know that?
Okay. For example, I speak to him today through a secure line that I got through someone close to him, because the first line was deleted because I shouldn't get to him. Now, I finished talking to him. We are in alignment that there was a misunderstanding. Okay, we are going to set things up. And 1 or 2 days later, you text them and it's not going through again. But you are close to someone. You are close to someone and you are seeing he's calling the person with the same number. You understand? So what is the obvious conclusion? Someone, in fact, I'm saying that because we've done it for other people. So I know the playbook. I created it. So it's not something that I will be, mad about it, because it's not
It means
about me.
you're no longer trusted within the current Chiroma's team. That's the explanation. Just like the former person who
We
claimed like he was a spokesperson and
we
was
we
now
we
speaking on the
we
media.
cannot
That you're not
talk about. First of all, as I explained to you, there is no former person, because as I told you, he was just part of the communicators that we used to go for shows. The boss of communication
and
was
he
me,
was never
has
of
always
the, he
been
was
me.
never of the team.
Dr. Chris Maneng.
So just to answer to Mimi's question about trust, no, the new team doesn't know me. So there's nothing about trusting, not trusting, because they don't even know me. We don't know each. I don't know. Or for example, Rebecca, I spoke to her when she got introduced to me by Jukan Tramini. So she gave me some of her ideas and so on. Okay, this is what we can do, blah blah blah, and I put her in contact with the team. I let her into the team. So she's the only person that I can say we know a little bit. But the new people, Muna Ikane, Eric Chinje, we just spoke for the show that he had to do with the president. After that, we've never spoken again. So it's not like we cannot talk about trust, because we don't know each other. And they are in the third layer of decision. Third layer. They are not in the layer where decisions are being taken. As I told you, there is an upper layer. And that upper layer where decisions are taken, there are only 3 people. And among the 3 people, I'm out. So it's remaining 2 people. Now, among the 2 people, there is just one person that knows what my strategy was. So it is all about not agreeing with the strategy that the last blow. That's what we say. The last blow that I had to give to the regime.
Do you want to tell us about the strategy? Or is,
Tell us about that last blow that you had to give to the regime, because Cameroonians who are watching you now know that you had a strategy that worked for the campaign. So it
would have worked. It would have worked. Yeah, it would have worked 100%.
Cameroonians want to know that strategy that would have taken President Tchiroma to A2D. So tell Cameroonians that strategy.
Okay, I will tell you this, and you will tell me if I'm wrong or not. I will let the community to judge. What was my strategy? People went out to manifest. Okay, they went out to strike. There was so much pressure on the regime. So much pressure on the regime. Now, this pressure that was on the regime would have led them a little bit vulnerable. I started negotiating with the United Nations, the US Senate, and the European Union. Of course, that is why they didn't go, for example, for the Constitutional Council declaring President Biya president. They didn't go because of the pressure I was putting to them. Now, that same pressure that was on the ground, that people were out there and manifesting, was putting a lot of pressure on the government, so much that the economy of the country was flooding. Now, that same time, the time calls were coming in so much because they wanted this to stop. Okay? They wanted this to stop. My aim was that, look, this country is our country for everyone. You want to fight the fight, you have to fight it strategically. So, my sister, this is what we're going to do. We are going to tell the United Nations that we want to sit with the Biya regime opposite. We concede. We know that it will be difficult for them to give us our power. Give us. But we want to try to sit with them and reason them so that they give us our power. First step. Now, the United Nations comes with maybe the African Union and the European Union as the referee. They sit in the middle and they say, okay, because of the goodness of the sub-region, how can both of you solve this issue? At least we sit. But in that condition, we don't want Ngongo. We don't want a collaborator that we judge is not accepted by the people. We want President Biya himself, or he has to nominate someone else to sit. We sit in public because we will keep the public constantly informed of what is going on and telling them that we are going there, we are discussing openly, and we are telling them that we have won you. And because we won, we are willing to find a solution for you to live in a peaceful manner. Tell us exactly what you're scared about, and we will find a solution. And now, I know that on your side, they will come on the table with the same kind of thing, saying that they actually won. So we are there, one side. We are saying, we won, we want you to leave. They are there on the other side saying, no, we won, we want to leave. So you have two people pretending they won. You have a conflict between two camps. Now, for the economy of the sub-regional to go down, we said, okay, let's come into the middle. Let's come into the middle. My objective, going there, starting by just telling them to leave, was not obviously because in negotiation and geopolitics and diplomacy, you are not going hoping that you will completely have what you're asking. But you have to go with a mind to say, okay, if we open negotiation, this is what I can let go. So we go now and we say we can let go and we can stand for cohabitation. What does cohabitation mean? It means I'm not accepting to be you, you are not accepting to be me. We are enemies that need to govern together. But these are the terms. This is my term. First, you, because you feel that that president title is too good for you, keep it. During 7 years, this country will be governed through a treaty. This treaty that is co-signed by United Nations, African Union, European Union. We will govern through this treaty. And this treaty will say that we will create a position that we call vice president that I, Tchiroma, will have. The next step is you, as the president, because you have always done it, you've delegated your power to your minister, you will also delegate power to me so that I am the one supposed to run the country and nominate my ministers and so on. Now, this is where it becomes juicy. You and me will not present ourselves for the next election. And again, you will let me organize the next coming election. We sit, we sign, and the treaty is being validated by the European Union and the UN. Now, this is where it becomes juicy, because people may say, okay, but if he can sign that and then he doesn't do it, okay, I have a plan. We go now and we say, let's go for elections, municipal elections and legislative elections. What happens during those elections? Remember that now Tchiroma has the power that he didn't have today to fight. He didn't have no power to fight because he had no army, he had nobody, he had no minister, he had no power. He couldn't say anything and people formally do it. Administrative people do it because he had no title. Now he is the vice president of a country. He's much bigger. He can say things and people listen. And again, he's the one who nominated the Minister of Territorial Administration. Now we are running the municipal elections and the legislative. Most of the ministers are people you nominated, okay? So it means the fraud during the municipal elections and the legislative will be reduced. With the momentum that we created during the elections, we are able to take over the National Assembly. That is how you dismantle a system from the inside. Little by little, they don't even realize it. Now, once you take over the National Assembly, you now vote new, or you vote for new electoral codes, you modify the constitution, you do whatever you want to do because you have the legislative power. Once that is done, you start fixing their coming elections. You have enough power because you have the National Assembly, and you have enough power because you yourself, you are the vice president, so an institution of the nation. And you have some ministers that you have nominated that are loyal to you. Then you go in for the elections. You don't present yourself. You are the boss of the election because you are the one organizing it. You reform ELECAM because you have the National Assembly. You go for elections and a young person wins the election. You brought in the change you promised to Cameroonians. You actually helped young people not to die. You release everyone that was in prison, and you still keep your promise of actually bringing transition to the country.
Yeah,
My
Dr.
aim was,
yeah, Dr.
let me finish here. My aim was, because we didn't have military power, because we didn't have international support, we should use strategy to still go in and do something about it. That was my plan. I didn't have the chance to tell that to Mr. Tchiroma because I just told her to the daughter who was my sister, and she felt like, no, for her, she wants her father to be president, nothing else. She wants her father to be the president because she had a vision that her father will be president. So she wants her father to be president. So that was it.
So, yes, I wanted to ask about the regime. We've seen a situation like this in Cameroon where there were negotiations between the government and leaders of the separatist movement in the past, and we saw how it ended, and even a national dialogue called
You
by
didn't
Paul
listen to me.
himself,
You
and he
didn't
didn't
listen to me.
attend. No, I did
I
listen
said this,
to
Mimi. I said it,
listen.
Mimi.
You are talking
You
about a
go on the
referee,
table.
which is the
Listen
UN.
carefully because it's very important. You go on the table when you are in a position of power. Position of power. Remember how I started. I said you have this movement down on the streets where people are doing this, that, and so on. All these things, all this chaos is giving you leverage so that when you go on the table, you have power of negotiation. Business people know that. Once you go with leverage, you can get what you want. Once you lose the leverage, you cannot get what you want anymore. Proof. Before, when all these things were happening, we were receiving calls. The campaign was receiving calls from every direction, was receiving calls from A to D. Once the leverage, and I knew it, that the momentum that we have cannot last for long. You understand? Everybody knew you have to be just a little bit smart to know that we cannot keep this for long. But the strategy is that they don't know that we cannot keep it for long. So the strategy is why we can keep it. Let's try to get something out of it before it dies. Because once it dies and they see that it is dead, they don't care anymore. They don't care. And afterwards,
you mentioned
they weren't picking up. Say it again.
You mentioned the UN and other international bodies that would have been like mediators or referees during this process. But how much trust do you have in these international institutions when, like you said, they were there when Cameroonians were being shot and killed, others were being arrested, and we didn't see much happening, and even the election results were blatantly stolen by the Biya regime, and we saw the results ourselves.
Mimi, the political game is all about manipulating everyone to get what you want. It's not about having people on your side. You don't care about that. You don't care about the UN trying to be on your side or not. What can I get out of them? That's the question you should ask. So at that time, we had leverage, and even the UN was on the call with me every second. But as soon as the leverage went down, you even call them, they tell you, oh no, is that we are waiting infos from US, from the UN headquarters. We are waiting, blah, blah, blah. There was no momentum anymore. Everybody was like, everything is going back to normal. The regime was calling them all the time and saying, wait, don't put pressure. Everything was going to go back to normal. So once they are being told that everything is going to go back to normal, and things are actually going back to normal, what is the pressure? There's no pressure. So not having them with you is not a question. It's what can you do with them when you actually are in the position of power, and use your powers, the position that you are in, to get most of what you want before it actually dies out. That was it.
I totally agree with the idea that in power negotiations, you must hit hard when the iron is still hot. That is when you still have your highest leverage. But the way you show, you demonstrate your strategy, which theoretically makes sense, you do not identify the weaknesses in that strategy. One of the weaknesses is what you have just mentioned right now, the delay game. The regime in Yaoundé is an expert in delay. Mimi was making reference to the separatist movement and the negotiations that were being spoken about. At the time, in 2015, 16, 17, 18, and up to 19 even, the leverage on the separatist side was quite high, and there was pressure on the regime in Yaoundé. And that is why we saw President Trump suspend military aid to Cameroon. He also dispatched Ambassador Tibonage to Yaoundé. They pressed Biya to organize something, the national conference and the Grand National Dialogue, and he did it. And there were other things. Now, the regime continued playing the long game, knowing that pressure was going to reduce and pressure was going to die. So when you were talking about this strategy with the president's daughter, did you factor in this and other weaknesses?
Of course. When I'm telling you that I'm rushing so that we go on the table, is because I'm aware that the regime may play this long game. They want to delay things. So The difference between the Anglophone crisis with this one is that we are talking, and Tchiroma took power in the heart of the country. And the heart of the country is Douala, littoral. And something was happening that never happened before. The Cameroon economy was crumbling. It was down. So they had no proof that it will not continue going down. So you act now, making them feel that you have still some cards in your sleeves. They will not want to take your bluff. In fact, they will not want to prove themselves if you're bluffing or not. Nobody will want to risk that if you are willing to come to the table and you talk. You understand? So they will not be there to try to check if it is a bluff or not, because the sub-region was at stake, and everyone from the sub-region was saying the same things. You guys should talk. Yes, it is our father, but we think that if things goes bad, even us in these countries, we are going to suffer. So it was the right time to actually sit and unroll our plan, for which we have total control, not a plan that they have control of. So yes, I knew they want to play the long game, and that's what they actually played, because we didn't do my playbook. Because we didn't activate my playbook, they played the long game, and all the momentum we had died down. So you actually have to say this to the people that took over me, that they took them over time. But me, my strategy was not to let them roll over time. The pressure was there. The ex-president of Ghana was coming. The European Union was putting pressure. The regime was panicking. The economy was crumbling. That was the time. That was the time. And they were willing to sit and talk. They were willing. They were willing. So, what else? It was a well-thought-of plan, and this is not a plan that I thought of afterwards. It was part of the game. It was just hard to say it. I just had to use nice spoons to actually say it, because it's not easy to say. But I am coming in the space of a strategist. I'm not coming with heart. I'm not coming to say, no, it's my father. And Mr. Tchiroma knew it. Most of the time, when his daughter was saying something, he said, no, I know Dr. Chris is not emotional. He talks professionally. He will tell me what is there. If it's good, he's going to tell me it's good. If it's bad, he's going to tell me it's bad. He knew me about that. I tell him what I think. And I think I'm doing it for the good of the campaign. And it always worked. And he always went my side. So the daughter could be angry the best she could. But if he feels that, he has to pass through me and he tells me, doctor, what do you think? Because my daughters are telling me that because they are my daughters. What do you think? I tell him what I feel. And because he's intelligent enough, he'll feel like, yes, let's go this direction. Maybe tomorrow they'll still try to talk him out of it, but that is how it works.
So Dr. Chris Maneng, I know your title, you are ex-campaign manager of Mr. Tchiroma, but I want to ask you, so what is the way forward?
The way forward is simple. They should be young people that go out there for elections. They need to win seats. You never win when you are not in the game. You need to be in the game. That is it. Now, you have to tell me, how can the opposition put together a strategy so that what you just told me shouldn't happen? That should be the question. The question shouldn't be, should we go or should we not go? No, that's not a question. That's not a question. If Mr. Tchiroma won the election, with LDPC say, no, because we thought we won, we are not going for election, it doesn't matter who won or who didn't win. What matters is that every opportunity to win some seats should be taken always, always. Statistics have shown that in many different countries, that you not participating is never a good thing. The momentum dies down. Once election starts and people start talking about election, nobody will be talking about Tchiroma. And the worst thing is that a very big figure like Kanto is on the game. He's going to take all the momentum for himself, all of it. That is his strategy. Go to Valsero's page. You listen to the narrative. You will know exactly what is your plan, because he's the #1 communicator for Kanto. You will listen. What is the next direction? They are saying, no, Tchiroma was right. to say not to go. He should not go, and people should respect him. But you should come and support Maurice Kamto, because Mr. Maurice Kamto is going to do something marvelous. His only opposition is Mr. Biya. He's going to beat him. Why that narrative? Because he needs everyone from Tchiroma to come to him, and he will get back his position. And that's also the reason why maybe he didn't support Mr. Tchiroma, because he couldn't accept that someone else should take his position. Think about that.
So as we're winding up this conversation, because I think that you have a lot to talk about, and I think Bernard and I would have more questions, but we cannot spend so many hours. Because Cameroonians, we also take into account their data and so on. So
of course.
just ask you a few questions before we conclude this conversation. So in your book that is titled Hidden Structure Behind Every Winning Campaign, you're actually arguing that elections are not won on election day. What system are you referring to in the context of Cameroon?
Well, in the context of Cameroon, I'm just, in fact, this is just what I'm saying to demonstrate that people think that what we are actually doing, the visible part that we are doing during the campaign, is actually the real campaign. No, that's just a result. Election day is actually the result of a structure that is already put in place. The 3-layer is what wins you an election, not one, not the second, not the third. You need to have visibility, operational layer, and strategic power layer. Because if you have one, you don't have the other. You may win the popular vote, but because Africa is constructed in such a way that if you own the power, you own the office, you need to always battle for the office, for the power. So it is important when you are working for an election, you follow the 3-layer at the same time. The same person who is following the visibility, making the narratives and all that, you also have to be thinking about the operationals on the field, the crowds and all that. The same person has to be talking about the power struggle. How can I get Kamto? How can I get this? And so on. And this is exactly what is happening. Yesterday, we wanted to have Kamto's people. Today, Kamto wants to have our people. Yesterday, Kamto was one of the layers that was important to consider, because he could be a nuisance as it could be favorable. His silence could be also a nuisance to your campaign, because some people will want validation from him. So there are so many parameters that are constituted in the power layer of the campaign. It intervenes post-election and also pre-elections. During that time, there is a power struggle that you have to put in place to get all the leaders behind you, the religious people, the elites, and so on. Imagine we had negotiated with the elites. We had good relationships with the elites. And we had time to tell all the elites that, look, if we are president, you'll be richer again. Okay? Those people will be behind the CPDM's back, will be vouching for us, and will be doing all what they did for CPDM instead for us. You understand? So it's just a game, and you need to be above everything. The bad thing is that we had no money. Now, we know exactly where we have to put more accent. Next time, I can assure you, I'm winning that election, hands down. Hands down. I just need to have a candidate.
Or you're going to have a candidate. You want to run?
Of course. No. I would never be a candidate. Never. For nothing. I'm not even allowed to, and I can't. But I will go for a candidate that will win this election, for sure. And I know exactly what to do. Exactly. And it starts now. The candidate will not come in 7 years and he'll win the election. No, I need to start the job now. And that's what I'm doing.
Have you seen somebody already, or you're still scouting?
I'm looking, I'm scouting. And that's why it's important for all these people to go on the field right now to see what they are capable of doing, because power also changes people. I can have my eyes on someone, and 7 years of being maybe a mayor or being maybe in the National Assembly, he changes. And then I say, no, this guy wasn't a good guy. So everyone goes, I monitor and see who actually is the person that can bring change to this country. And this time will be a young person. I'll go for that person. I'll make him the next president.
So when do you launch your book?
It will be launched Tuesday. Will be open for sales on Tuesday on all platforms.
What are the most prominent platforms for those who want to buy?
Amazon, eBay, and we'll have a personal website where people will go and purchase, drchristianmaneng.com.
What about those in Cameroon?
Yes, they will buy from the platform, and they will also be able to buy physical copies on site.
When are the copies going to be available in Cameroon?
That's what I'm saying. Online, it will be available by Tuesday, but offline, it will be available from 1 week from now. The time for it to get from 1 or 2 weeks, the time for it to get from the US to Cameroon.
And where is it going to be available at? The books, what are they going to be available at? What
we are negotiating with all major libraries and supermarkets, Super U, and so on. So yeah, that will be communicated on official social medias when that is really well or structured and out.
Are you sure the government would allow the book to be sold in Cameroon?
I don't see the reason why they shouldn't, because this is just a manifesto. It's not a tell-all. The tell-all may be coming tomorrow, who knows? But this is a manifesto. Once you read this book, you know exactly how to win an election. So it may even be Tchiroma campaign is just a case study in the manifesto. I'm telling, okay, this is what you need to do in this. These are the layers you need. For example, this is the layer that I used in the Tchiroma campaign, like this, and this is the result it gave. This is what I did good, and this is what I did wrong. This is how you can correct it. It's a manifesto. It's just like a playbook. You just need to use it and make sure that you follow it rightly, and you are sure that you can actually win a local election in Africa.
So yes, thank you so much, Dr. Chris Maneng. He's actually the former campaign manager and spokesperson and former spokesperson of Issa Tchiroma Bakary and the author of The Hidden Structure Behind Every Winning Campaign, joining us today on the conversation decks. I don't know if you have any final words or whether Bernard has any other question to ask.
I don't have any other question. I just want to thank the viewers who have been with us throughout the campaign till today. They've been doing a fantastic job, and they've been supporting and giving us the energy to keep going. So we just ask you once more to keep on sharing this content. At least for now, you have a different perspective of the conversation, not what we all see, but how what we saw came to be. And this, I must confess, are the most important parts of any conversation you would like to have. Not what you see, but what was not seen and how what was not seen was going on, because it has a lot of nuances. And Dr. Chris Maneng has not even explored up to 1/1000th of what he saw, what he heard, what he touched, what he perceived. So
and what he did.
And what he did. So the conversation is always going to continue. And maybe we should plan to have a more detailed conversation after we read the book in detail to see, to explore more, so that our viewers can understand what is in the brain that has just been talking to us now.
Yes, like you said earlier, Bernard, the behind the scenes of Issa Tchiroma Bakary's campaign. But Dr. Chris Maneng, thank you so much. I don't know if you have any final words before we.
Yeah. So my final question, my final statement is: we are in our country. Nobody is an outsider. We are all wanting change in any structure. We just want to feel better. We just want to feel better. And we are counting on everyone to make it happen, everyone. And this is not a matter of Tchiroma or not Tchiroma. Tchiroma actually was a very strong instrument to get us where we are right now. Now people know that it is possible. I just want to say, don't get discouraged. If you see that it's possible, it means something else can be done to make sure that next time we have it all right. You can't just get it right from the first time. You tried, you have 90%. Next time you know exactly what you did wrong and you polish it. And every Cameroonian now know that they have power. They have power to follow their votes. They have power to actually make sure that their vote really counted. Some people maybe in the Anglophone regions didn't know that going out and controlling their vote will be detrimental for them. Now they know it. So next time they may do it. So everybody knows the playbook now. And that is also my aim, to make sure the playbook is available for everyone, so that even if next election my candidate doesn't win, because other people that will support campaigns will have the playbook, they will make sure another candidate wins. So it's just our nation, and we are just trying to do what is best for our nation. But I will never compromise myself for personal gain. I don't even need it. I have what I need, and I don't need more. Chiroma knows it because he knows that he didn't pay me. So, and I didn't request it for it. So it's not a matter of money, wealth. I would have gone and supported Kanto, for example, or any other person that has money. I knew that Mr. Chiroma had no money, and I decided to go for him.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you, Bernard. We've been doing this throughout, the election and even after. We'll continue the momentum and the discussion. If you don't mind, Dr. Chris Maneng, maybe we can have another conversation again in the future. But thank you so much for creating time to come and speak to us. I also see a lot of questions in the comment section, but because of time, we will not be able to ask them today. We'll bring Chris Manning again for another very interesting conversation. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Always welcome, Mimi. And thank you so much for the job you're doing. You deserve to be in your country. You deserve to share this expertise that you have to other people in the country. And as well, my brother also, who is an expert in this field, he's doing marvelous. All of us need to come together and make sure that our country is actually developing the right way. And that's just what we are praying for and seeking for.
Fingers crossed, and yes, amen to that. And we are hoping that our country can really get better. To our viewers, it was a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for joining us. Like Bernard said, please share so that this can go as far as possible. We want to see your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you all for joining us as always. Bye for now, and a happy Sunday for everyone. Thanks, Bernard.
Thank you so much, Mimi. One last request for the viewers. You've heard what Dr. Chris Maneng has said about participating in the next elections, and especially to young people. Tell us in the comments section why you agree or disagree with his reasoned advice on participating in the next legislative and municipal elections. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye.